All right, so I'm going to take. What if I hang on, dude? Do I need Joel's line on anymore? Or that get ready?
Nah, Joel's done. He's got all his stuff. He's got to release soon. Drop him off. No.
All right, so when I start again, we'll all be fired. We're all good.
Yep. So I've reset the broadcast.
So right, so what we're going to do is we're coming in with Ken's story, yeah? All right. Don't mind me. I'm going to be out of this one a bit. I'm going to play with some levels and stuff because there's stuff I want to work with. So, Trav, can you do this?
Yeah.
I'll call it back in, or do you want me to call it back in?
Oh, you can. Okay, we should have fixed the audio sound issues now.
Okay.
So for the people listening online, have we muted? No. Can you guys just double check, make sure the sound's getting through okay? I don't really want to have to go in the other room and check. Which one is that?
2.5 minutes ago.
Oh, I can't type.
All right, now what are we doing for timing for this?
I've just got my personal Facebook just got nailed again.
What for?
Don't know.
Music.
Well, there's no music coming through on the stream. Because remember, the music's in our headphones. So see what Joel was meant by the censorship?
Yeah, crazy. Absolutely so.
So, no, I think it might be time that we start getting a GitHub, Rumble, Telegram, and start doing all the term places.
We're going to have to.
Yeah. Main problem is I know with Rumble, they can't do 24-hour broadcasting. They can only do I think 3 hours straight or something.
Well, that won't be a problem for us.
No, I want 24-hour. Yeah, but everything I can see so far in these settings, it should be fine.
All right, because before, when I turned the mics off, I could still hear you guys in there.
How would that work?
I do not know. I do not know.
Those mics in there aren't still on, are they? Can you imagine if those mics were picking up in here?
They're not those sort of mics, mate. So they're all right. All right, a minute to go. All right.
Well, we've got a few people sticking around. So if you guys don't mind, just let us know if you can hear us okay. We had a few sound issues with the whole Zoom and everything. We're in the new studio, as you can tell by the beautiful artwork in the background. How long until we're going back on air?
Oh, 40 seconds.
40 seconds, and we'll be back into the show. And I've just found out if someone's commenting on my personal page, I don't see the comments on my StreamYard. Okay. So there's something to do with personal account versus public account.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
all right, we're live now. Mics are hot, guys.
Beautiful. I've been this hot, sexy.
It's Edge Entertainment Australia, edgeradioaustralia.com. Glad to have you part of this afternoon. Bit of a chat. We've got all sorts of things going on. And I am not turning Travis's mic on till the absolute last second because let's face it, self-preservation. How you doing? Edge Radio, Malloy with you. And we are talking about all sorts of things today. I've turned your mic on now, Trav. You're in charge, mate. Well,
fine.
As much as you can be.
Fine. So, yeah, Aaron's got this habit where he just doesn't turn my microphone on.
It's not a habit, mate. It's a decision, okay?
But it's also because I make a habit of interrupting all these throws and making sure, hey, good morning, everyone.
Do I talk like that? I heard not.
He's told us don't ever do that again. And
That's
so
so
I
cheesy.
intentionally do it every single opportunity I get to piss him off. So now we did have Joel talking about the digital identity bill. So there was a few talking about digital, a few tech issues. for some reason, his audio was not going to the broadcasting to Facebook. It did go to Edge Radio Australia, though.
Cool.
So we will be doing a quick edit and reposting that discussion because it was actually really, really good.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, we'll tidy that up and get the bits out and
definitely. Now, the other one is we've got Ken Lydon here. Now, this is an absolute doozy, and I've known about this story for a while. Ken made me aware of it during one of the federal elections. Was it 2019 federal election?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So this is Ken Lydon. He's the family representative for the Tong family. So to give the people an understanding of what actually happened in 2018, there was a call to a family dispute, and I'm using quotation marks because it was over an argument over a property. And so 2 police attended the Tong family. Lee was in his bedroom drinking a coffee or having some sort of food. And so 2 police officers asked him to open his door to his room. He opened his door, and then one of the police officers shot him twice in the chest, one in the arm, and he actually passed away from the shooting. So it was a fatal police shooting. As a lot of people are probably aware, shortly after that, there was a lady in Geraldton that was shot when she was trying to stab a police officer. It was 1 bullet into the stomach. She did unfortunately pass away later in hospital because of the injuries. The Indigenous community went absolutely ballistic and riots. This is in the middle of the COVID pandemic. They had the illegal gatherings on the foreshore, and everything. So what's happened is that hearing, the person that actually shot that lady, actually eventually, due to public pressure, got charged with manslaughter. The Lee Tong family, all they want is for their case to be treated the same. And nothing's happening. Like, this has been a 3-4 year battle now just to get a hearing, and it's gone to the coroner's report. So I'll let Ken fill in the rest of the details from here. But first of all, what actually happened that led up to the shooting of Lee?
Well, it probably started with a minor family disagreement between Lee and his father. But it escalated after that when the police came into the house and just shot him dead, for want of a better word.
That will escalate things. Just
That's right.
But the fact of the matter is, it wasn't a single bullet. It wasn't a single shooting. There was 2 police officers who attended. 1 shot. The senior constable did not fire. The junior constable, I don't know what their rankings are. I'm not a police officer. I never pretended to be. Not only shot him once in the arm. My understanding is the first bullet went into the arm, and the next 2 went into the chest. Now,
yeah, that's right. You would think that the police officer would have stopped after the first shot got him in the arm, but he continued to fire. He fired 2 more shots directly into Lee Tong's chest, and of course he died straight away. And I think most people would agree that this was a deliberate killing, and that this police officer can hardly claim that he was acting in self-defense.
So what's happened is this has actually then gone through, after years of campaigning, the coroner has finally said, okay, I'll do a coroner's report on it. So did you actually attend the hearings for the coroner's report?
Yes, I was there for some of the coroner's inquest, and the impression I got was that this was just a rubber stamp for the police, that the coroner was never going to be very critical of what happened. He was never going to ask the important questions of these police officers. It was a whitewash. The coroner's court, the day I attended, was full of police officers. They're supposed to be short-staffed, but there was enough of them in there on that day. And the coroner was never seemed to be willing enough to push these police officers as to the reasons behind the killing. It was just pretty much a rehashing of what happened. And of course, we had a pretty good idea of what happened anyway. But I really think that the reason why this police officer killed him is what we need to be finding out. And I think the only way to do that is with a proper trial, which would mean this police officer would have to be charged with murder or manslaughter, so that he could be dragged before a jury and a proper trial conducted where all the evidence can be tested, where he can be cross-examined. And if he wants to put up a defence, which I imagine he would, that, of course, has to be part of the process.
Now, can I butt in for a moment?
Yeah, sure.
So what was the gent's name?
Lee.
Was Lee armed at all?
No, he was completely unarmed.
Okay. What was he wearing?
Jocks.
No, he was wearing a T-shirt and shorts.
Okay. What I'm trying to get across is where's the threat? Okay, where's the threat? There's a lot of holes in this story. And certainly my experience and I obviously don't know anything about this story, so I'm hearing it for the first time. So but I have certainly experienced this with the police force and the courts. It seems to be a case of covering everybody's asses. When you see, when the police investigate the police, how in the world are you possibly going to get honest integrity, right? You just don't, right? Because it is just a cover-up. And that sounds like a conspiracy theory or whatever, but at the end of the day, look, it's a small, close-knit community. And when you've got, whether it's court system or the police itself or the internal investigations, when you are effectively investigating yourself, I know if I was investigating me, I'm innocent, right?
No, of course you're. I'm always innocent. Just ask me, I know, like I was there.
Exactly right. But that's how stupid it is, okay? Without making light of the murder of this man, because that's, in my eyes, it's a murder, okay?
I agree, yeah.
Yeah, because, if this is why I asked what he's wearing, okay, was he armed? If he was coming and lunging it with a weapon, or there was something like that, that you could go, okay, there's a tangible reason that this police officer feels like his life is in jeopardy. I get it, mate. You know what? Use your firearm. But come on, you put 3 shots into an unarmed man in his jocks and t-shirt, in his,
You also got to remember
his bedroom.
In his bedroom.
He's Vietnamese as well.
Okay.
So he's
I don't see how that's relevant, but
not very tall, not a very big. I've seen pictures on him. There was a couple of news articles about the shooting back in 2019, but that was it. Okay. The amount of media attention that this has gotten has been
I'm going to attack you a little bit on that. Okay, this is something that seems to be a common thread. Is we keep talking about the person's race or their sexuality or whatever.
There's a very good reason why I brought this one up. So I'm trying to remember the lady's name up in Geraldton that got shot.
Joyce Clark.
Joyce Clark. Yeah. There it is. Wall-to-wall coverage.
Yeah.
So Joyce was actually physically attacking people with a pair of scissors when she copped a bullet and unfortunately passed away.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's very sad.
It is sad, but what I want to know is how come someone like Joyce Clark's killing warranted wall-to-wall media coverage, protests around the country, the whole Black Lives Matter movement was erupted over this. But yet when it's a Vietnamese person...
because quite frankly, politics.
No, you can't talk.
I know. Shh, don't use it. The dirty V-letter word.
Because remember earlier today when we were talking to Derek and we were talking about the actual definition of racism? It's not just discriminating against someone and keeping them down because of the nationality or whatever race they are. It's also about putting them up on a pedestal and favouring them over every single other person. And this is a clear case of the reporting on this is a clear case of racism against the Tong family. All they want, and from what I'm hearing in the stories, is they just want this to be heard properly.
Yeah.
It's not getting heard properly because Lee was not Aboriginal. And I am going to say it out there. Because he is not Aboriginal, the media do not care.
But he's a minority.
I'm pretty sure
I'm actually saying it with great sarcasm. Make no mistake about it. Okay, and that's the thing. Okay,
it depends. Could be he's male as well.
He's male. He's clearly a predator. Okay, but it comes down to fashion. Okay, it comes down to fashion, and whatever gender or nationality or upbringing or ethnicity or whatever you want to call it, whoever's in fashion at the time, that's where you get your maximum value. And that's sadly, that's. Okay, the media knows that they're going to get more people clicking on the old internet, more people watching the news if it's an Aboriginal, and they make a big story about it. A Vietnamese guy's not as good at news. It's just simply doesn't make as much money. And then this is ultimately what it comes down to: money, money, money. Media is a business, not a service. It is a business.
Mainstream media is a cancer in Australia,
Couldn't agree
in
more.
my opinion.
Couldn't agree.
Because something like this, you have to be able to report it properly. The media has a job and an obligation to actually tell people what's going on and how bad it is. And I genuinely feel sorry for the family because all they want is a fair hearing. They want to find out exactly why their son was effectively murdered in his own bedroom by the West Australian Police.
That's right. And
yeah, so you go, Ken. Yeah.
Well, there's a clear double standard in that if the similar case of the Jammal killing of George Clark and Lee Tong, these two cases can be compared. And even though those people in authority say, oh, no, you can't compare these two cases. Of course you can. When police officers kill a member of the public in one case and do the same in another case, of course they're comparable. And of course the double standard is quite clear. In the case of Joyce Clark, a police officer who killed her, he was charged and they had a trial. Now, he was found not guilty and the family accepted that within reason because they had their day in court, didn't they? But in the case of Lee Tong, they haven't even got their day in court because this police officer has not been charged and it doesn't look like he ever will. Unless there's some sort of public outcry, which there should be, because of this blatant double standard.
And aren't we sick of double standards, honestly?
Yeah,
I for one, am absolutely over it.
That's right.
I'm so sick of a gender or sexuality or whatever, or your colour of your skin becoming an issue here. Yeah. It is ridiculous. It is 2022. I think we've all grown up enough. Okay, we've all. Okay, I came today, and I might get all. Okay, I've come today. I'm dressed a little differently to how I normally would dress. I've actually come from a funeral today. Okay, and my family is half brown, half white. Okay,
and you're albino.
And I'm the white sheep of the family. I'm the great failure. Okay. I'm there, and half my relatives are there, and they've all got dark skin. Okay, all my relatives there have got light skin, all that sort of thing, right? And but why the hell is that? Like, we're family, okay? And then
what does it matter?
It doesn't matter. Yeah. And it's 2020 bloody too. And why the hell do we have to centralise everything around the colour of your goddamn skin or your gender?
And we have anti-discrimination laws in Australia where you're not supposed to do that. But I've heard.
But I've seen. Okay, I mean, you say that. I very recently, I saw a court openly assist with stalking and domestic violence because the victim was male.
Yes, no.
You know what I mean? It comes back to fashion again, okay? And it's fashion at the moment. The male in those sort of situations is the predator, okay, and the woman's the victim,
But that's the narrative that's pushed within mainstream media, and that gets back onto the point that mainstream media has an obligation, because just the position that they're in, that they have to report the truth, unbiased and
that ship has sailed.
Yeah.
And I think, to me, it's more important to actually teach people now to not trust your media. Don't trust us. Don't trust anybody, right?
Do your own research.
Do your own goddamn research. Go listen to some left-wing stuff, some right-wing, something from in the middle. Listen to different opinions and go, hang on, I've got this funny thing called critical thinking. I'm going to give it a crack.
It doesn't exist these days. This is why I'm like so keen to get Uncle Kenny onto the show more regularly. Common sense, because that's something that's missing, especially in the younger generation.
Ain't common anymore.
No, it doesn't exist. So I always remember as a kid, if I did something stupid, I'd cop a clip around the ear roll from my grandfather. Like the amount of lessons I learned from my grandfather was awesome. And so many people, especially with the attacks on the family unit, all this. I always remember when I was maybe 6 or 7, and I heard this really bad joke. I won't repeat it because it was clearly racist.
Right.
As a kid, I didn't even know what racism was, and I told Pop what the joke was, and boy, did I get a flogging. And it was purely because it was not an appropriate joke. It was extremely hurtful. It was extremely nasty. But I didn't know that. And the only way you're going to learn that is from the older generation.
Yes. But you don't learn racism. Okay? You're not born with racism. Okay? No. It's something to learn, right?
Yeah.
So we need you. You're absolutely right. You need
it needs to be called out.
Yes, absolutely. And this, in my opinion, again, this case with Lee, this sounds like it's got racism all through it. Let's face it.
Yeah.
Because if it was an Aboriginal woman or an Aboriginal man,
Mm.
okay, we're going to get stories about it everywhere. We're going to get an inquest. We're going to get all of this, right?
Mm.
If it was a white female,
yeah, that's
we're going to have a
right.
parade.
Yeah.
There's going to be candles.
Have a look at that lady that just killed her 2 kids. How
Oh,
much media coverage did they get?
unbelievable. And they're trying to paint her as some sort of saint.
Yeah,
What?
And then
What?
just going back to your earlier comment, if it was an Aboriginal male that went on, say, from the age of about 6 or 7, crime spree all the way up to 18, to the point where he's actually actively trying to kill 2 people, and when the police find him and shoot him dead, last name I think was Walker up in the Northern Territory.
Okay.
Mm.
But I don't blame that kid either, because his mother was sniffing petrol while she was pregnant. So imagine what that stuff.
It's not a great start in life. That's
No.
fascinating.
So there's so much that needs to be learned. Like again, just going back to the older generations taking responsibility for the younger generations. If my grandfather caught me sniffing petrol as a kid, or if like he caught my wife sniffing petrol when she was pregnant, or there'd be absolute hell to pay.
No.
And there's no responsibility, no accountability, because at the moment, again, going down to racism, is because there's so many people, especially within the Indigenous community, they can do no wrong. Prime example, we had a set of units set on fire by an Aboriginal kid. We actually had the CCTV footage. Like, you can't see who it is, but you can see them running away after they set it on fire. The police up in Geraldton actually openly said, we know who the person is. They're under 12 years of age. We can't touch them. So
Where are the consequences?
They refused to open up an incident report until I asked for one, because I needed it for insurance. And the insurance just said, no, we're not covering it.
Wow.
So we had to cover the cost of that.
I had a similar situation. House was broken into. In fact, pretty scary, actually, because there's 4 people inside when it was broken into. CCTV I've got on my house, showed the footage very clearly, showed them, right, showed their faces, what's of it. And you know what the cop's attitude was? Well, my attitude, what he said to me straight away. I said, oh, look, you can see him clearly. He's like, yeah. Look, mate, you're insured. What's your problem?
That was the first statement they said when I reported the fire.
It's not that. Hang on. This guy, or these people, several of them, is going from house to house, and they're doing this, right? I can identify him. I actually know his name. There you go. Boom. You're insured.
You know what the Geraldton police called them?
Yeah.
Untouchables.
Untouchables.
Because they had, and this is coming directly from the cop, they had instructions from Quigley, do not arrest Aboriginal kids.
Well, we all know
Under no
Quigley is without doubt the most useless, and I'm going to throw it out there, I don't care, corrupt politician we've got in Western Australia. And we've got a pretty good collection of corrupt politicians in Western Australia. So to put him up there on a pedestal,
That's right.
yeah.
Don't worry, there's a video series coming out about him very shortly.
Absolutely. You're looking forward to that one, trust me.
You're on the subject of the police and what's happened is happening in Australia. It's also happened in England.
Yeah.
Where actually there's a video done by Peter Hitchens. People might have heard of him before. He's been very critical of what's happening to the police in Great Britain, and more particularly what's probably called the militarisation of the police forces.
Right.
And same thing's happening here, where he makes a comparison of the original British police was the Robert Peel version, where going back a long way now, where policing was a local thing, and most people knew their local copper or the bobby, and he walked everywhere. The cop on the beat.
That's why they called him Mr. Plod.
Mr. Plod,
Because that's what they used to call the police, especially in England, Bobby or Mr. Plod. He just hands behind his back, like gut hanging out, and just plods from spot to spot.
And he was not armed. If he was armed, these arms were concealed, and that was the important point. So that the image of the police officer, the old Bobby, was someone who was not a threat, who didn't have exposed weapons to make people afraid of him.
When I was growing up, we were told, basically if you're in your peril or whatever, you go to a police officer, right? Now, the world I live in now, that is not advice I would give children.
No.
Because quite frankly, police are now a big part of the problem. They are aggressive, right? They are generally, in a lot of cases, and this comes back to a recruitment issue. With the first mining boom that we had, we had a lot of good police who went up north to make money. Why wouldn't you?
It wasn't just that.
3 times your income, that's what happened. No, so we lost a lot of really good cops.
It goes further than that as well, because there was such a staff shortage with the first mining boom. Like I know police officers in Geraldton who quit being on the beat to be handymen because they actually get paid more going around mowing people's grass and cleaning gutters out of their cleaning leaves out of the gutter.
Yeah.
They get paid more doing that than actually working the noble job as a police officer.
Well, here's where I was going to go on this. This is, I see this as a real issue in Western Australia. Okay, when we had that mining boom, they had to obviously go and find new bobbies or new coppers, right?
Yeah.
Now, you know where they went and spent big money on recruitment drives, right? They went to South Africa and England. Now, South Africa, I'm not sure if you've noticed, hasn't got the best record for human rights. Don't know if you noticed that. Okay.
Great capital of the world.
And so, if you're going to, and when you're going to bring police in and you're going to put them in Aboriginal communities, for argument's sake, because they've got to do their time in a country town or something. If you're, how is that good for the local Indigenous society to be putting people, and let's cut it, who have come in from Cape Town with those kind of attitudes? And then, of course, they've got, the police from, the UK, and at that time weren't allowed to have guns. And there was a lot of gun-toting little aggro pent-up little issue boys, and that's who we recruited. So you're not going to get quality if you're going to go and shop in the gutter.
Yeah, that's part of it.
That's a great assumption.
Well, that's my point. Probably the coppers who came from Britain and South Africa, where the British police system would have been there anyway, would be affected as well by the new image of the police force of serving the state and not the people.
Yeah, very true.
And this is what we end up with. This is what the distinction Peter Hitchens made in his video was that in Europe they had a different system of where police forces served the state, but the British wanted to do it differently, and they did, and they made it so that the police served the people. And going back to what I said about the Bobby on the beat, or the cop on the beat in the US version, where this was a well-known man in the neighbourhood who was close by. So, and the theme there was the prevention of crime.
Absolutely.
By the presence of the police, not the coming along after the crime's been committed and just giving the victim a insurance number, police number for an insurance claim, which is what we have now. But and at the same time, we have the weaponisation or not, the militarisation of the police force is a very serious issue.
Completely agree.
If you look at the average copper now, he's more like a paramilitary.
I know.
But they got weapons dripping off of them. And as far as interacting with members of the public, who would want to? These people look threatening.
They do. They absolutely.
Yeah. Nobody wants to. They got a gun on their hip, like an old-fashioned cowboy. They got a nightstick. They got handcuffs hanging off their belt. Some of them even have bulletproof
They
vests.
look like they're heading for Mardi Gras.
Yeah,
Right.
well, they look like they're heading for a combat zone, and that's my point. And this is what people in Britain are saying, and America as well. The militarisation of our civil police forces is a serious matter, which is happening right under our very noses. And we see, in principle, that the police now no longer work for or represent or protect the people.
No.
They do the bidding of the state.
So
Who does it? Yeah, and this is.
I want to take that even further. So generally, if you go all the way back in WA history, and I'm talking about probably at least 10 years ago, the police commissioner's role was effectively to keep the politicians in line. Like there was always this I love to hate each other role between the police commissioner and the premier. Like you see all the way back through. You go have a look at when Jeff Gallop was in power, go have a look at photos where he's up on stage and the police commissioner's behind him and they just hate each other. The daggers that they're shooting at each other, it's like, right, how can I catch you out? How can I put you in jail? And that's the mentality the police commissioners have had. And now Mark McGowan's just made the police commissioner.
I'm going to disagree with you. I remember a guy called Brian Bullshit. Brian Bull. Brian Bull. Brian Bull was commissioner of police or chief of police, whatever.
How long ago was that?
Shut up. A while ago. And this is when Brian Burke was premier. Now, those two were best mates.
And have a look what happened with Brian Burke.
Brian Burke, come on, mate. Straight down the line kind of guy.
Obviously, you didn't read his book.
No, I didn't. And that's called sarcasm, mate. My God, that guy couldn't lie straight in bed. But, okay. Brian Burke was a dodgy, corrupt politician, human being, had his hands in everything. And
his best mate was a police
His
commissioner.
best mate, exactly right. Now, I don't know the exact mathematics of this, so fact check me, someone.
Oh, that's already done, apparently.
Apparently, but I remember a mate of mine was a copper at the time. Okay. And he got into force, bright-eyed, bush-tailed, and had, I'm going to save the world. Really nice guy, okay? All those, good sort of thoughts.
How long did that last?
Well, he lasted his 7 years. He did his time in the country, a whole lot of, and the moment he could get out, he got the hell out. And he said what he couldn't understand is the fact that, he could understand, was it was interesting that when Brian Burke came into power, his best mate was a sergeant, okay? Within I think it was 5 years. Within 5 years, he'd gone from that level to being the head of the entire police force. He said the corruption he saw in that time, and that's in the late 80s period, that it was just dirty deal after dirty deal, right? And it was never more prevalent than when your best mate goes up 600. A career projection that would normally take 18 years, right? 18, 20 years, took 5. Right, and as I said, we're coming back to what we're talking about. Okay, with Lee. I mean, this is the problem when you've got people who lack integrity, and I'm sorry, but the great majority of West Australian police now, in my eyes, this is my opinion, lack integrity. All right, there are good coppers out there, make no mistake, and I met some, and they're absolutely fantastic men of them. All right?
I have to say, the cops at the protest rallies in Perth, they were actually really, really cool.
They were. I mean, look, and they would come up and we'd have these fantastic chats, and we're catching up like, good old mates. There was, and I want to make this clear, okay, because I'm giving the police a hard time. There are some really, really great coppers out there, but here's the problem: there is such a shitty culture in that place now that the good coppers are not just a minority; they are the tiny minority in comparison. And there's this cleaning up, okay? So you get a copper in there, like, who's I don't know what country he was from, where he was recruited from, but he's trigger happy, okay? He's been playing Call of Duty growing up or whatever the hell it was, right?
Computer games do not cause violence. Sorry, gamer here.
Gamer here, okay. Well, I played a lot of rally games and I crashed a lot of cars. I don't know.
Yeah, but you crash the cars on the rally track, not on the road.
Very good point. There you go. You're not on the road. But, okay. What the problem is you've got people who get into these professions because they want to be a professional fuck, right? Who have had their head flushed. When they were teenagers at school, there was just a lot of guys who had their heads flushed in urinals who went on to be police officers, right? Okay, these are the people who were bullied and therefore they want to become bullies because all that sadly that's a reality of bullying, right? So when I see that and I hear about Lee's story, like, I should be unbelievably frustrated and angry about that. But
we're not surprised.
I'm just zero surprise because I just know that the cover-up started the moment he went pop.
Yep. I think it happened before it went pop. I think all through the training, all through the recruitment process. This is the problems in most organisations. If you've got a rotten head of the organisation, it's not flow through. Yeah. That you need the integrity at the top. And when you've got a police commissioner becoming the governor of WA, there's no way in hell this could ever be a clean organisation.
See, when I first heard Dawson was coming off, this is a good thing, right? Okay, because Carl O'Callaghan was, again, dodgy as the day is long in the middle of summer, right? Okay,
but he did want to arrest
his son.
Well, no, that's 10 points on that one. Yeah. No, but you can see the photos of Carl O'Callaghan looking at Mark McGowan and his predecessor, Colin Barnett. And like you could just see, he's like, I'm just waiting for you to screw up so I can put you in jail.
Do you reckon? Yeah. Okay. I mean, I saw the side of Callaghan, which I knew, he was absolutely dodgy as hell, right?
I know the guy that was driving the car. I've actually spoken to him.
There you go. Yep. So when Dawson came along, there was a moment of like, maybe we'll get someone in there that's not full of, playing politics. And look what we end up. We end up with a new,
even worse
governor.
The question is, his replacement, what's he going to be like?
I don't know. It'll be McGowan, because the McGowan is the premier, okay? He's also the treasurer. He's the tea lady, okay? So is he going to be the police commissioner as well?
So here's the question: will the what's her name, Sharon, end up the new police head secretary?
Look, I saw Mark McGowan recently, and I did say hi to Shazza for me. And I encourage anyone out there, whenever you see McGowan, ask, Just
How's
ask after
Sharon?
Shaz, right?
Mm.
Don't ask Sharon. Say, how's Shaz going, mate?
How's Shaz?
He loves that. He loves that. He gave me this beautiful thumbs up. Right?
Yeah.
Well, I think it was a thumb.
Was it the
It
thumb
could
or
have
the
been
middle
another
finger?
finger.
Just ask her if she's tying her hair up lately.
Ooh.
No, it's not Monica.
No.
Monica Lewinsky.
Oh, shit.
So I know Monica, so I had to really
Clean that
quickly
up,
make
yeah.
sure it's
Yeah,
not.
Please don't.
We're not implying the wrong Monica there.
Don't do
the
that.
cigar lady.
For God's sake, don't do that. So, all right. End of the day, look. I want Lee's story to be heard. Okay,
Yeah.
and I think that every West Australian has a duty to step up and say, okay, we need to campaign for this. This needs to happen, right? Because you can't just go, okay, because then what do we do? Okay, we're saying one life's more valuable than another. No. All lives are got the same value, right? Whether you're rich, you're poor, you're
Aboriginal,
black, you're white.
Vietnamese,
Yep, doesn't bloody
The
matter.
fact of the matter is there was an action taken which resulted in a death.
Yes.
Now, if that was a civilian, it'd either be manslaughter or murder, depending on the intent. Same as if you have a car accident, it's deemed that you're the driver at fault, and someone dies in that accident, you get charged for manslaughter, an accidental death. So why is that different to the WA police?
Okay. Our court system's a joke, right? Okay.
It is. It's a
It's an
flat-out
absolute
joke.
joke. We know that. I know of, this is a long time ago, 20 odd years ago now, but actually someone I know was involved in this case. And this young girl actually murdered another young girl, okay? Or absolutely horrible. And anyway, long story short, the difference between murder and willful murder in West Australia, which is essentially willful murder in Australia is essentially what others would consider first degree murder in the US or whatever, okay? Willful, okay, is premeditation, okay? And I watched this trial go on for, whatever it was, 8 days or whatever it was. And anyway, this young woman went, she told people what she was going to do. She brought the weapon to work. She stored the weapon at work. She made plans, organised so this girl was left on her own, all of this, right? And then went to her house and then stabbed her 46 times in a frantic bit of lunacy, okay? And they did not find her guilty of willful murder. It was murder because apparently that's not premeditated. Can somebody explain to me how our legal system is simply not a justice system? It's full of shit. It is basically it is whoever can afford the most expensive, the best lawyer. Now, her parents,
family law court.
Absolutely. Her parents spent 350 grand, as I'm told. Again, this is secondhand information. I don't know. I never saw the bank statements. But $350,000 to stop her from getting willful murder, to back it off to murder, so she'd spend less time in jail. All right? It's sick. It is absolutely sick that the system can be manipulated like that. And we know that, obviously. The family law court is the greatest joke. Our own Prime Minister said, is it fit for purpose? Well, anybody who has had any experience knows it's not even remotely fit for purpose. It is a corrupt entity. It's as simple as that. You know, when you walk out, and if you're just a punter and you sit in the back room, you spend 10 minutes in there, you'll walk out, and honestly, you'll be going, what the fuck? Like, seriously, you feel like you've walked into the Twilight Zone. And when you see someone who's just been murdered by a police officer, okay, and ultimately, what's his big crime here? Is it his ethnicity? Is he just not important because he's Vietnamese? No, I hate to break it to you, he's bloody important, right? And his life actually matters. And other West Australians deserve to know, and his family deserve the respect to have that properly investigated.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, that's what the families say. We want a trial for this.
Yeah.
If the family of Joyce Clark can have a trial where the police officer has to explain what he did in front of a jury, and he was found not guilty, fair enough. Why can't the Tong family have the same thing? You could go on to say that the case against the police officer who killed Lee Tong is actually much stronger than that against the police officer who killed Joyce Clark.
It seems that way from just the outside looking.
There's certain factors. One is that Joyce Clark was armed in public. She had attacked a police officer, I think.
Right.
Did she, Travis?
From what I'm told, she was attacking other police officers.
Well, she had a weapon.
She had a weapon, yeah.
It's a fundamental, huge difference.
Yeah.
And as well as that, the police officer fired only one shot, which apparently struck her in the abdomen.
Right.
And one bullet fired by a police officer, the cop could then probably convince the jury that he didn't intend to kill because he only fired one shot. In the case of Lee Tong, but that police officer fired 3 shots. At close range, I've been in the house and seen where it happened. The police officer would have only been about 2 meters from Lee Tong.
And I fired pistols to the difference between shooting someone in the stomach to shooting someone in the chest. You got to remember when they arm up, palms together, and the arms out. So you lose another meter. So that gun would have been within 1.5 meters away. That's the difference between shoulder level to down, pointing out the belly. It is a clear shot with an intent to kill.
Look, I know the standards at the old police academy and the training is. I mean, they're currently right now. They're actually taking programs out of the procedure to become a police officer, right? Because they're having to fast track because there's that short of copies. So they're taking elements out. The training is not quality. So are they taking time out of the firearms training? I mean, maybe.
No, I can answer this one for you because I asked a cop about this and they said that the only time they get to train, they get tested with a firearm once a month.
Right.
Anytime they fire a firearm outside of that, they have to do it on their own time.
Right. Okay. Right. So they've got to be a member of a gun club or a company. Okay.
And you've got to remember, bullets are crazy expensive, and the cops don't get paid anywhere near as much as what they need to be paid for the job they do. And that probably also explains why I think the West Australian was reporting 40 to 80 police officers a month are resigning.
And I don't blame them. I don't blame them. I mean, I spent the last half hour just saying negative things about the cops. But I mean, hey, I wouldn't do the job, right? I mean, there's no way. I'm certainly not built for it.
No, you're built for the 1980s police. Like there's a place that's down the road.
That's right. But interesting point you raised about police training.
Yeah.
On the day after Lee Tong's death, the commissioner is on record as saying, and I quote, "These police officers did exactly what their training taught them to do."
Really?
That's the words of the commissioner.
To fire an unarmed man from a metre and 2 metres.
Okay, so if they followed their training, right, they were both in the same place, at the same time, in the same situation, one fired and one did not. So which one was following the training and which one wasn't following the training?
That's an interesting point. And in fact, in the coroner's inquest, the second officer who did not shoot stated quite clearly, he said, "I could see no reason to shoot." And this is an important point. We now have 2 police officers. The younger police officer was the one who shot and killed. The other police officer was an older, more experienced. I think he might have even been a sergeant.
Right.
Now, when he says that he could see no reason to shoot, but the other police officer did shoot, what do you make of that? I mean, well, who's right?
Well, that to me is a red flag right there. Okay, that says to me this needs to be investigated. Well, just that line alone.
This needs to go through a trial, and a jury needs to decide whether this police officer intended to kill Lee Tong. I mean, from what I know of the criminal system, the criminal code, it seems that if you kill somebody with the intent to inflict grievous bodily harm, and you inflict grievous bodily harm with intent, and the person dies, well, that's murder. And I can't see why a police officer should be exempt from that same standard.
That's all right. You know what? Yeah. His next in command or his best mate will do the investigation. We'll be over in seconds.
Well, that's what happened.
That's
what happened. Yeah. The police prosecution at the time are on record as saying that they could see no prospect of a conviction, and this is what the words which were used by the commissioner at the time, Dawson. He said, "We will not prosecute because, in his words, we can't see any prospect of a conviction for this police officer for the death of Lee Tong." And this is the coroner's inquest then came quite a long time later, thanks to public pressure or the request of the family, and with the help of their MP. And it seems that the coroner, in his findings, actually blamed Lee Tong for his own death in a bizarre, macabre fashion. The only way he could describe it. How this man who was unarmed in his own bedroom.
That must be pretty strong soup he was eating. I mean, that's dangerous stuff.
Shot 3 times by a police officer to have the coroner pretty much claimed that he was, I think in the finding, the words the coroner used was Lee Tong was combative, or he was hostile or out of control. In other words, Lee Tong was to blame for his own death.
Oh yeah, well I don't know about you, but if I've got coppers who
cop's
bust
fault.
into my bedroom, I'm not going to go, hey, would you like to sit down for a cup of coffee and a scone? You know, it's just stupid.
All in
Absolute
favour of
stop.
crumpets and teas.
Crumpets and teas. Now,
Yeah.
let's have some crumpets and teas. Time for a quick break.
Now, we are over time already.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
So what I would love to do, Ken, because we haven't even touched the surface of this.
No,
I want to have a talk to Ken. How do you feel about coming in next Monday? And I want to talk about, because I know you went to your local parliamentarian about this. I know you've spoken to a whole heap of other people. I want to talk to you about how, because normally when something like this happens, you go to your local member of parliament and you say, right, this is a problem. I need your help.
Yeah.
And I'd love to discuss that in detail next week. How do you feel about coming in?
Yeah, we'll come in. Well, my MP is not the Tong family's MP, but I have approached the Tong family's MP, a man called Dave Kelly, on their behalf.
Okay.
And he has advised us that this is something that cannot be discussed in Parliament.
What?
That's exactly what he said.
So I'd love to cover that.
We need to hear more.
We are way over
right.
time today. But I really want to do a follow-up on this one next week.
Yeah, I'm with you.
more than
Absolutely. I want him.
Definitely, I'll come in. I'll be quite happy to. This is a very important case for
Really is.
the whole history and the future of the West Australian Police Force.
Mm-hmm.
This case cannot be allowed to be swept under the carpet, which is what they're trying to do.
Of course they are.
I wonder if we can get our local favourite former police officer to come in and have both sides of the argument. We'll see if we can get Paul in as a former force.
That's a good point. I was actually thinking Paul would be a great asset here, or even maybe Ben Falconer.
Oh, he does want to come on the show, but he's got to be careful because his case is still ongoing.
I know. Yeah, no, Ben's a great guy. Got so much time.
Oh, that's right. You know him.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right. Well, with that, then we won't go to a break. We'll just call it quits, right?
No, it's not quits. Until next week. So remember, this will be on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. I keep saying Twitter, and it's not Twitter.
No, it's Twitch.
Twitch. It's because of Twitch.
All right. So let's do that, right? We'll come back next week. With that,
the birds.
let's throw on the song. We will change to the other studio. Life will just go on as well. And mate, I've had an absolute pleasure talking to you tonight, and can't wait for next week. And
and don't forget, at 7, we will be 7. Yeah, 7. We've got Malcolm Roberts TNT show coming up.
We can't get to Malcolm on early. No, haven't paid the bill.
Well, it's already past 6.
So maybe
remember, it's a 1-hour show.
It is. That will not work. All right, let's get him in. Fantastic, guys. Thank you very much. It is Edge Radio Australia. Thank you very much for being part of it. And as I say, look, listen live 24/7, or get on the old internet, press the old button. It is so easy now, honestly. How easy is it right now? Go to the website, hit the play button, and instantly music. I'm even like, okay, I'm the guy who can't find the any key. I'm lousy with technology. I've got mine set up nowadays on the Bluetooth on my stereo. I walk in my front door, I press the button, and instantly I've got 7.2 surround sound. Me. It's terrible.
That's right. It is you on the voice. I've got to do that.
It is.
We need some new voices.
We need new voices because it can't just be me. Thank you very much for your support, guys, and we will see you next week.
Thank you.
I love how you turn my mic off first. You did really well.
Oh, good.
That was great, mate. Yeah, your tone is really good.
And he's calm. He doesn't speed up.
No, exactly right. So, like every so often, because you've got that tone, right? I'm thinking, his volume's